The story begins with a young woman named Lara, who works as a courier girl to make ends meet. The job doesn't pay much, so to cover the cost of her training, she often takes on small side jobs whenever she can. One day, her trainer approaches her and reminds her that she still hasn't paid several months' worth of fees. He warns her that if she doesn't clear the dues soon, she'll have to quit the training altogether. Hearing this, Lara becomes worried. She has no idea how she'll gather that much money in such a short time. Desperate for help, she turns to her friends. That's when she learns about a race being held the next day, one that comes with a big cash prize for the winner. The race is called the Fox Hunt. In this game, one participant, known as the Fox, has to ride ahead with a can of paint tied behind their bicycle, while the rest, the hunters, chase them. The rule is simple. If the paint can empties before the fox is caught, they win. But if they're caught first, they lose everything. Lara, confident in her speed and determination, decides to enter the race despite everyone mocking her. They laugh and tell her that this race isn't for amateurs, that winning it is nearly impossible. But Lara, in desperate need of money, ignores their ridicule and signs up anyway. The next day, the race begins. A paint can is tied to Lara's bike, leaving a trail of bright paint behind as she pedals hard down the streets. Soon, a group of bikers begins chasing her, following the painted trail. Lara pushes herself to the limit, dodging obstacles and racing through narrow alleys to stay ahead. However, the paint marks make it too easy for her pursuers to track her. Thinking fast, Lara cheats a little. She hops onto a passing truck, making the paint trail disappear. Confused, the hunters lose her trail and scatter in all directions. After riding for a while, Lara jumps off the truck to continue on foot, but it doesn't take long before the bikers spot her again. As she tries to escape, she briefly glances at a mysterious man by the roadside. His presence distracts her completely. For a split second, she forgets the road ahead, and in that instant, a terrible accident occurs. Hearing the crash, the bikers immediately stop and gather around, but when the police arrive, they flee, leaving Lara behind. She is arrested and taken to the police station. There, a woman named Anna comes to see her. It turns out Anna has bailed her out and seems to know her well. Soon, the truth is revealed. Lara isn't just an ordinary courier girl. She's actually the daughter of Richard Croft, a famous billionaire businessman who built a vast empire. Lara, however, had walked away from that privileged life years ago and had been living anonymously ever since. Anna sits beside her and says, "How long do you plan to keep living like this, Lara? You have the power to control this entire police department if you wanted, but for that, you'd have to accept who you really are, Richard Croft's daughter." We then learn that 7 years ago, Richard Croft disappeared during a business trip to Japan. Since then, no one has found him, not even after hiring the world's best investigators. Anna explains that if Lara doesn't sign the inheritance papers, the investors will soon sell off her father's entire company and property, and she'll lose every trace of her father's legacy forever. For years, Lara had avoided this exact day. She had refused to touch her father's fortune because it made her feel like she was admitting he was gone. But now, realizing that memories are worth far more than money, she decides to sign the papers to protect her father's work from being erased. The next day, Lara arrives at her father's massive company headquarters. But as she enters, the receptionist mistakes her for a courier and rudely asks her to wait outside. Having lived a modest life for so long, Lara quietly steps back. But then it hits her. She owns this place. She walks back to the desk, looks the receptionist in the eye, and says calmly, "My name is Lara Croft." The man freezes, realizing his mistake, and immediately apologizes, standing at attention. Lara is then escorted inside, where she is handed the official papers that require her signature. Just as she's about to sign, her lawyer opens a suitcase and takes out a wooden box. Lara instantly recognizes it. It belonged to her father. The lawyer then tells her that Mr. Richard Croft himself had left specific instructions regarding this box. In his will, it was written that after his death, this box should be given to her. Lara said that this was not just a box. It was actually a Japanese puzzle. When she was a child, her father had taught her how to solve it. Lara managed to open it within just a few minutes. Inside, she found a key and a letter, which contained a short riddle through which Richard was trying to tell her something. After thinking for a while, Lara understood what her father was hinting at. She decided not to sign the papers and left from there immediately. After that, she ran back home and began searching around her father's empty tomb, which had been built only in his honor, for any kind of clue. Soon, she found a keyhole that had been carefully hidden there. When Lara turned the key, suddenly a secret door opened, leading directly down to the basement. She quickly went inside and saw that her father had built a secret research room there. Lara searched through every single drawer and found many of Richard's passports. Searching a bit more, she discovered a camera that contained her father's final recording. As soon as Lara played the video, she realized that the message was meant especially for her, because Richard knew that one day Lara would definitely reach this place. In the video, Richard said that if she was watching this tape, it meant he was no longer alive. He requested her to burn all the files related to his Mythical project, as that information should never fall into the wrong hands. When Lara went through all of her father's research connected to the Mythical project, she learned that he had been searching for the tomb of Queen Himiko, Japan's first queen, and wanted to be the first to reach it. There, Lara also found a years-old letter that had been sent to Richard by a man named Lu Ren from Hong Kong. Richard had told her to burn everything, but Lara didn't do it because her mind was filled with countless questions. She kept wondering, if it was so important to destroy it, then why hadn't her father done it himself? She realized that if she burned everything, she would never get answers to any of her questions. So she decided to go to Lu Ren, as he was the last person her father had contacted. The next day, Lara went to a pawn shop and sold her precious pendant, collecting enough money to travel to Hong Kong. The scene then shifted, and we saw Lara arriving in Hong Kong. The only clue she had to find Lu Ren was a photograph of his ship. She went around the harbor, asking every man about Lu Ren, but none of them understood English, so they couldn't comprehend a single word she was saying. Meanwhile, 3 boys surrounded Lara and asked whom she was looking for. One of them pretended to help her, came close, and at the right moment snatched her bag and ran away. Lara chased after them, but they were too fast. They jumped from one boat to another, quickly getting far away. However, since Lara's bag contained very valuable belongings, she didn't give up and took another route, eventually catching one of them. Lara grabbed him by the neck and squeezed tightly until he began to choke. Seeing this, the other boys panicked and quickly returned her bag. The moment she got her bag back, she released him. But suddenly, that boy pulled out a knife to attack her. With no other choice, Lara ran to save her life, but they wouldn't stop chasing her. She used a cable to swing across to the other side, and that's when she spotted the ship she had been looking for all along. Without wasting a second, she ran toward the ship, banging on its door and shouting for Lu Ren's help. But no matter how many times she knocked, no one came out. Losing hope, just as she was about to fight the boys herself, a drunk man stumbled out of the ship and shouted at them to get off his boat immediately. The boys got scared and ran away, but Lara stayed because she wanted to talk to him. The man was so drunk that he soon fell to the ground unconscious. Lara poured water on him to wake him up and asked where her father, Richard Croft, was. The man told her that he wasn't the Lu Ren who had written the letter to her father. That letter had been written by his own father. His name was given to him after his father. Lu Ren's father had borrowed money from many people, so he assumed that this girl was just one of those debt collectors. When Lara asked him where her father was, Lu Ren replied that he didn't know anything. He only remembered that one day his father had taken a boat out to sea and never came back. When Lara asked if that had happened 7 years ago, Lu Ren's drunkenness vanished in an instant, because until that moment, only he knew when his father had disappeared. Lara said, "I know where they went. Both our fathers were searching for a secret island. We're going there to find out what really happened to them." Lu Ren scoffed and said, "Good luck with your adventure. There are more than 6,000 islands in Japan that are completely uninhabited. Where will you even start looking?" Lara then pulled a map out of her bag, the same one Lu Ren's father had drawn. There were strange markings on it that Lara couldn't understand, but as soon as Lu saw them, he realized that they were the exact coordinates of that mysterious island, which ended right in the middle of the Devil's Sea. Lara asked him to go with her, but Lu Ren had no interest in finding his father anymore. Besides, going to that place was as good as signing your own death warrant. Looking at the scattered deck of cards on the floor, Lara realized that Lu had lost a lot of money gambling the previous night and was drowning his sorrows in alcohol. She offered him a large sum of money to join her, enough to pay off all his debts. Lu's eyes widened in shock, and he immediately agreed to go. After sailing for several days, Lu told Lara that they were now entering the most dangerous part of the ocean and that they needed to be extremely careful. That very night, Lara woke up with a violent jolt. Terrified, she rushed outside and saw that their boat had been caught in a monstrous storm. Lu shouted that the ship had been dragged into the island's current on its own. Before they could understand anything, a massive rock struck their ship. Lu yelled that the waves were going to carry them far away from the island. They had to jump off quickly. Lara was just about to jump when she suddenly remembered that she had left her father's diary inside the cabin. She ran back to get it, but as soon as she picked it up and tried to leave, a huge wave crashed into the ship and threw her back inside. Meanwhile, as Lu tried to lower the lifeboat, another powerful wave swept him overboard. Lara narrowly avoided the sharp metal debris and jumped into the water. After struggling for hours against the raging sea, she finally washed ashore on the island. When she opened her eyes, she saw several men standing in front of her. Before Lara could understand anything, they attacked her and knocked her unconscious. The next morning, when she woke up, she found herself in a camp. Her head was bleeding badly from the wound, but she was lucky to be alive. The man who had saved her the night before told her that anyone who tried to reach this island rarely survived. Getting here was nearly impossible, and leaving was even harder. Lara immediately started searching for her bag. Then Matthias appeared, holding it, and said, "Looking for this?" Inside the bag, she found her father's diary, the one containing all the notes about Queen Himiko's tomb. Matthias smirked and said, "You brought me exactly what I've been searching for all these years." Richard knew the real location, but still, we've been digging in the wrong place for so long. Hearing her father's name from his mouth, Lara's heart raced. She asked, "You knew him? Where is he now?" Matthias coldly replied, "Because of Richard, I've been trapped on this island for the past 7 years. All he had to do was cooperate with us, but he refused. He thought he was saving the world by doing that, so I killed him." Hearing this, Lara was shattered. Her father was gone, murdered by these people. Rage filled her heart. She wanted to kill Matthias then and there. But as she looked around, she realized that Matthias wasn't alone. The entire island was full of enslaved laborers, forced to dig day and night in search of Himiko's tomb. Among them, she saw Lu Ren, alive but captured, working under brutal conditions. Matthias ordered everyone to stop working and move the camp. They were heading toward the exact spot marked in Richard's diary. On the way, Lu managed to come close to Lara and quietly asked if she had learned anything about her father. When she told him that these men had killed him, Lu's face fell. He was devastated. Lu had been secretly speaking with some of the workers and had already learned that it was Matthias who had murdered both their fathers. Following the map from the diary, Matthias finally reached a pair of rocks whose shape matched perfectly with the drawings. Realizing that this was the real entrance to the tomb, he immediately ordered his men to start digging again. Meanwhile, Lu noticed a worker who had fallen severely ill, unable to even stand. He tried to convince the guards to let the man rest, but the guards ignored him and forced the man to keep working. Just then, Matthias appeared, and without hesitation, he shot the sick worker dead. Lu understood one terrifying truth. No one ever left this island alive. He wasn't planning to leave the island. That's why he wanted to help Lara escape. Seizing the first opportunity, Lu attacked one of the guards and shouted for Lara to run. The guards immediately began chasing her, firing bullets non-stop, but Lara managed to dodge every shot and fled into the jungle. Lu also tried to escape, but Matthias shot him down. Running for her life, Lara reached a deep gorge, where the only way across was a fragile wooden plank. She carefully stepped onto it, but as soon as she tried to cross, the guards fired at her again. One bullet hit the plank, throwing her off balance, and she plunged straight into a raging river below. The guards asked Matthias if they should continue chasing her, but he ordered them to stand down and sent his best man to capture her alive at any cost. Meanwhile, the violent current carried Lara toward a massive waterfall. Before she could fall, she managed to grab onto the wreckage of an old airplane wedged in the rocks. The metal creaked under her weight, and a crack ran across the wing. Every step she took had to be precise and steady, but soon the plane began to split apart. Just in time, Lara jumped to the other section of the wreckage. She quickly cut herself free from the tangled ropes and was about to escape when the entire plane gave way again, plunging toward the depths below. Dangling between life and death, Lara refused to give up. Spotting a torn parachute nearby, she leaped off and grabbed it in midair. As she opened it, she realized the parachute was ripped in several places. She fought to control her descent as best she could, but moments later, she crashed hard onto the ground. When she came to her senses, she saw that a sharp wooden shard had impaled her abdomen. Gritting her teeth, Lara mustered all her strength and pulled it out, the pain so unbearable it nearly made her faint. Desperate for help, she staggered toward the coastline, but there wasn't a single soul in sight, confirming Matthias hadn't been lying when he said, "No one ever leaves this island." Exhausted and bleeding, Lara collapsed and lost consciousness. When she awoke again, it was already night. Hearing faint footsteps nearby, she immediately grew alert. Before she could react, a man, one of Matthias's men, grabbed her from behind and tried to drag her away. But Lara fought back fiercely. She forced his face into the muddy water and held it there until he stopped struggling and went completely still. It was the first time Lara had ever killed someone. The realization that she had taken a life shook her to her core. She sat there trembling, tears streaming down her face. As she wept, she suddenly noticed a shadow moving in the bushes. A man. He turned and tried to run. Lara chased after him and saw him climbing a cliff using a rope. Before she could reach him, he pulled the rope up, forcing Lara to climb the dangerous rock face on her own. When she finally reached the top, she found a man who had clearly been hiding there for years. As she looked closer, her eyes widened. It was her father, Richard Croft, alive after all this time. Lara tearfully told him that she was his daughter, but years of isolation had left Richard's mind unstable. He muttered to himself in disbelief, convinced that she was just a hallucination. It wasn't until Lara made the same hand gesture he used to do when she was a child that he realized this was real. Seeing her injured, Richard immediately stitched up her wound. Overwhelmed by pain, Lara fainted again. Meanwhile, back at the base, Matthias had discovered the secret entrance to the tomb. He quickly informed his superiors, who began preparing to send reinforcements to extract them from the island. When Richard later learned that Lara hadn't burned his research but had instead brought it right into Matthias's hands, he grew furious. He explained that for years he had deliberately planted false clues to mislead Matthias and keep him from finding Himiko's tomb. But Lara's actions had undone everything in one stroke. "Coming here was a mistake," he said harshly. "You shouldn't have come. You're in danger because of me." Lara's heart broke hearing that. She had risked everything, her life, to find him. But instead of gratitude, she faced his anger. Still, she made up her mind. She would not disappoint her father. She would stop Matthias and keep Himiko's tomb sealed, no matter the cost. Ignoring Richard's pleas to stay hidden, Lara went alone to face Matthias and his men. When she reached the base, she skillfully infiltrated Matthias's camp and stole his satellite phone. She spotted Lu Ren, miraculously still alive, and signaled him. "When you hear my gunfire, take the workers and run," Lu nodded. Moments later, Lara opened fire, killing the guards one by one. A fierce gunfight erupted between the enslaved workers and Matthias's men. Matthias himself fought ruthlessly, shooting down several people with his own hands. Amid the chaos, Lara saw her chance and prepared to strike back. Lara stole Matthias's satellite phone and was running away with it when she suddenly spotted her father, Richard, standing near the gate, watching her from a distance. Before she could reach him to help him escape, Matthias and his guards caught Richard. Matthias furiously shouted, "Open this gate now! Because of you, I've been trapped on this island for 7 years. My family is out there waiting for me." But Richard tried to reason with him, saying, "If you open that gate, your family and everyone else will die." Just then, Lara appeared and aimed her bow at Matthias, demanding that he let her father go. Both of them had their weapons pointed at each other. Lara could have easily killed Matthias, but she knew doing so would cost her father his life. Richard tried to calm her, saying, "Don't worry about me. If one life can save millions, it's worth it." But Lara hadn't come all this way just to watch her father die. Reluctantly, she lowered her weapon. Matthias ordered her to solve the puzzle mechanism that would unlock the massive stone gate, as she was the only one capable of understanding it. Lara quickly realized that the puzzle on the gate was identical to the Japanese puzzle box her father had left for her back in his office. Without wasting time, she started rotating the sections one by one until, click, the entire gate broke apart and opened. Using a rope, Lara carefully descended inside and found herself surrounded by piles of dead bodies. It was clear they weren't the first to reach this place. As they moved ahead, one of Matthias's guards accidentally stepped on a hidden trap, and sharp spikes shot up from the ground, killing him instantly. Richard immediately understood. This tomb wasn't designed to keep people out. It was built to keep something inside. Every wrong move could mean instant death. They all tread carefully, watching every step. But then another guard triggered a trap, and the floor beneath them started to crumble. Just in time, Lara spotted the correct locking mechanism and jammed the key into place, stopping the collapse and saving everyone. Moving further inside, they found a massive temple built thousands of years ago in honor of Queen Himiko. There were rows upon rows of mummified soldiers and servants. Richard explained that these were Himiko's loyal followers who had sacrificed themselves for her. A bit deeper in, Matthias finally found what he'd been searching for all these years: Himiko's tomb, perfectly preserved for millennia. Richard pleaded, "It's not too late. You can still stop this." But Matthias refused, unwilling to let 7 years of effort go to waste. Besides, he said, Trinity, the secret organization he worked for, wouldn't allow him to return empty-handed. On his command, the guards pried open Himiko's tomb. To everyone's shock, her body was still perfectly intact, as if untouched by time. But the moment air touched it, her skin began to decay rapidly. Matthias scoffed. "See? Just a corpse. Nothing more. Let's take it and get out of here." But Lara noticed something strange. She looked closely at the ancient murals on the walls. None of them depicted Himiko as a monster. In fact, they showed people worshipping her willingly. She wasn't dragged here. She had chosen to seal herself away. Lara realized that Himiko hadn't been cursed. She had been infected by a deadly disease and had imprisoned herself to stop it from spreading. Just then, one of the guards touched Himiko's body, and moments later, his hand began turning black. The infection spread rapidly through his veins, reaching his brain. Screaming in agony, he turned violent and attacked the others. Matthias had no choice but to shoot him dead. Lara and Richard watched in horror. The disease wasn't supernatural. It was a deadly virus, and Himiko had been immune, sacrificing herself to contain it. Matthias smirked. "So this is what Trinity wanted all along," he said. Richard shouted, "You can't take her out of here? If that virus gets loose, it'll wipe out the entire world." But Matthias ignored him. Instead of taking the whole body, he cut off one of Himiko's fingers, sealed it inside a plastic containment bag, and ordered his men to move out. Lara realized that if Matthias managed to smuggle that piece out, Trinity would use it to unleash a global genocide. She immediately attacked the guards, fighting desperately to stop them. One of the guards chased Lara, while elsewhere Richard and Matthias exchanged gunfire. Matthias's bullets eventually ran out, but then one of the infected guards rose again and lunged at Richard. Richard shot him down, but in doing so, he was also infected. Meanwhile, Lara managed to outsmart and kill the guard chasing her, but when she returned, she found that Matthias had escaped and her father was now infected. The moment she realized this, her world shattered. She didn't want to leave him behind, but Richard, weakened by the infection, looked at Lara and said softly, "There's no saving me now, but you can still save millions. Stop Matthias. Don't let him leave this island. I'll take care of Himiko." One last goodbye. Lara, with tears in her eyes, nodded and walked away, her heart heavy but her resolve unshaken. Meanwhile, Matthias was seen trying to cross a narrow, crumbling bridge to escape. Just then, Lara came running and leapt directly into his path, blocking his way. "Move!" he shouted, but Lara pushed him back, forcing him dangerously close to the edge. Matthias growled, "You can't save anyone. Trinity is everywhere." A brutal fight broke out between them, violent, desperate, and raw. Matthias was strong, but Lara's determination was stronger. She remembered her father's final words, "Stop him at all costs." So she kicked away the bridge's ladder, making any escape impossible. Trapped, Matthias went berserk, landing several heavy blows on her. Lara fought back with everything she had. At the same time, Richard sat beside Himiko's tomb, surrounded by explosives. He closed his eyes, whispering a final prayer. Then, with trembling hands, he triggered the detonator. The massive explosion shook the entire tomb, causing the ground to quake and rocks to rain down from above. Taking advantage of the chaos, Lara struck back, grabbing Himiko's severed finger from Matthias's pouch and shoving it straight into his mouth. The infected tissue instantly began spreading through his body like wildfire. Matthias screamed in agony as his flesh blackened and decayed. Within moments, the infection consumed him completely, and he fell screaming into the deep abyss below. The entire temple began to collapse around her. Lara sprinted for her life, leaping across broken bridges and falling debris until she made one final desperate jump, landing safely on the other side. Outside, Lu Ren noticed the entire structure caving in. Without hesitation, he rushed to help. He found Lara trapped beneath rubble, struggling to climb. He threw her a rope, shouting her name again and again. When there was no reply, he feared the worst. But then, the rope jerked. With renewed hope, he pulled hard, clearing the stones away until finally, Lara emerged, bruised and exhausted, but alive. Suddenly, the roar of helicopter blades echoed in the sky. Trinity's reinforcements were arriving. Unaware that Matthias was dead, one of the agents spotted Lu Ren and the freed workers. But before they could react, Lara and the survivors aimed their weapons at them. They seized control of the helicopter and finally escaped the island. Back in London, Lara signed the documents to reclaim her father's company, ensuring it would never fall into the wrong hands. Anna, her family's trusted associate, seemed delighted by her return. As Lara's lawyer handed her a list of the company's subsidiaries, one particular name caught her eye: Patna Limited. Her heart froze. That was the same weapons manufacturer whose logo she had seen on Matthias's guns. Alarmed, Lara rushed to her father's old lab, where she uncovered proof that Matthias had been telling the truth. Trinity truly was everywhere. They had infiltrated her father's corporation and used it to fund their global operations. Richard had been trying to stop them, and that's why they'd tried to kill him. Then Lara discovered a hidden photo, a surveillance shot of Anna herself. The realization hit her like lightning. Anna was working with Trinity all along. Now, Lara understood. Trinity wasn't after just Himiko. They were hunting countless other supernatural relics to gain control over the world. And now it was her duty to stop them, just as her father once did. Determined, Lara returned to the pawn shop where she'd once sold her pendant. This time, she bought it back, paying far more than she had received. Before leaving, she also purchased 2 sleek pistols and holstered them firmly by her side, ready for whatever came next. And with that, the movie ends. Lara Croft standing tall, reborn as the fearless adventurer she was destined to become. I hope you loved this thrilling adventure as much as I did. If Lara's courage and her father's legacy inspired you, then prove it. Smash that like button and let's hit our target of 600 likes for the fearless.